talk about Pritzker and size, but when I talk about Pritzker, I get angry because he's not letting us do the job. So I'm not going to tell my Pritzker joke. They have a very cute little joke, you know. Some speechwriter wrote some joke about his weight, but I would never want to talk about his weight. I don't talk about people being fat. I refuse to talk about the fact that he's a fat slob. I don't mention it. On a more serious note, as we gather around the dinner table, I'd like to lose a few pounds too, by the way. And I'm not going to lose it on Thanksgiving, I can tell you that, because I'm going to have a turkey, but it's not going to be that one. I hope all of you talk about Pritzker and size, but when I talk about Pritzker, I get angry because
we don't deserve him, folks. We don't deserve him. He's the best. What's up, friends? How we doing tonight? Sitting pretty? Love it. It's a beautiful day. Vince, I knew you'd like that one, being that that's your governor. Oh, man. All right. Well, guys, we got plenty to talk about. Welcome to American Fire. I'm Ace. I'm your host. We got lots to talk about. There's so much going on, but you might not notice it because some of it's behind the scenes and some of it's right in front of you, but it's not real news. So we're going to talk about that tonight. Going to break it all down. Going to tell you why I'm sitting pretty, getting ready for this Thanksgiving holiday. Going to be thankful as ever because we are winning so big. So if you want the latest, the greatest on what's going on with the Trump administration, what's really going on in our politics today, not what they're telling you what's going on, not what they're lying to you about, you're going to want to watch tonight's episode because we're breaking it down. Only the truth here tonight, friends. We're going to have a good night. Got a little classy drink because I'm enjoying the show. First things first, sorry about last night. It was Monday Night Football. The Niners were playing. They were playing the Panthers, who's a local team here since I live in North Carolina. And I decided to go out amongst the people so I could celebrate victory as they all cried. And it was glorious. Sorry, Panthers fans, but it was truly glorious. Anyways, if you like the show, if you like what you're hearing, please like, subscribe. That helps the algorithm. Send this out to everybody. I promise you, if you're MAGA, if you're right-leaning, if you're scared, if you're worried, you won't be after tonight. We're going to cover it. We're going to break it down because way more good is happening than not. Let me say hey to some peeps in the Chizat, and then we are going to get started. Steve Bernard, what's up, my friend? US1 Tahoe, Cass Sink, Stephanie Bridges, good evening. Wago Waco, Beathies. One Love, what's up? Toe Cramp in the house. Scott Volkovich, Just Mike, Vince Felice, Hazy Tropic, White Rabbit, Linda Telly, Kathy's here, Shogun. Good to see you all. Welcome on Rumble. Welcome on YouTube and X. Good to see you all. Listen, if you don't mind, especially on X, hit that repost button. One of the best ways to get it out there. Okay, let's get moving. All right, we laughed at Trump and Pritzker, and we're going to get into the psyop that is playing at all-time highs right now. And folks, it tells me they are scared. They are terrified of what's coming. They're terrified of what Trump's doing. They are, man, they've really brought it this week. But before I go there, I want to show you this. Zero Hedge story today. Why did Democrats suddenly go quiet on the Epstein files? Anybody want to take a guess? What did I tell you this whole time? It was all a hoax to try and get Trump, and it failed epically, miserably, wonderfully. And now it went way further than they ever expected it to go. It is blowing up in their faces, just as I predicted it would. And they don't want to talk about it anymore because it's all them in the files. Look at this. Look at this beautiful graph they made here. This is mentions, headline counts in the mainstream media of Epstein. I don't know how far it goes back. I don't want to go into the story right now, but it goes back a ways. barely ever mentioned. Little blip right here. And then all of a sudden, the Democrats, they saw some profitability in this. Thomas Massey, MTG, the Republicans all started trying to take Trump down. Oh, let's keep it going. This is in the summer. Then boom. Okay, we're gonna. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, it got passed. Oh crap. That's not what we wanted. We wanted to get a big. We wanted to get Trump, but he's not in there the way we thought. Oh crap, that's our people. Oh, you dummies, you idiot. Oh wait, we were just gonna get passed in the House, and the Senate was gonna block it, or Trump was gonna veto it, and it was gonna be. We were gonna say he's hiding. So, he pulled the rug on us. Oh, there it is. Beautiful stuff. So this week you might have heard that Doge was terminated. I already dealt with this news, but just to reiterate, Doge was not terminated. Not at all. See, at the beginning of the year, they created Doge because Trump didn't have any of his cabinet in. He didn't have any of his people, his appointees anywhere. So they created Doge as a separate entity where they could hire real quick and get the ball moving on cleaning everything up. Doge went. It was a little disappointing. We all wanted more, but it still got a lot done. Buy funds to NPR, buy funds to PBS, all kinds of leftist propaganda, all kinds of U.S. aid. Thank you, Doge. Doge was highly successful. It just wasn't successful in the way some expected and some wanted. But if you actually look at what it accomplished a great deal. And then we got the news. Reuters reported this week, Doge has been disbanded, but that couldn't be further from the truth. What really happened is Doge, the entity, the centralized entity, was dissolved because it's no longer needed. What happened is those people went into their areas of specialty, their areas of expertise underneath the cabinet secretaries, underneath the appointees. And so now Doge is no longer centralized. It's spread out. And why do we know this? The Doge accounts are still posting. They're still keeping up with what's going on. Every day we're getting new news. Just the other day, it was 1.7 billion found, and I can't remember what it was, but just go to X, look up Doge. It'll pull it right up. They're still posting. They're still getting stuff done. So kind of odd that as soon as Reuters reported on it, Doge hit them with another cut. Hilarious, if you ask me. But again, fake news. Then we get Trump's firing Susie Wiles. Why? They were really trying to push this one because Susie Wiles is maybe the most powerful woman in modern history because she's a chief of staff, first woman chief of staff to a very powerful president. She has all kinds of control over the White House. Very, very powerful woman. Very big deal that she's in there. She's also a trusted confidant of Trump. And the Democrats can't say too much bad about her because she's a woman. And they're always very careful when they go there, unless it's like a very outspoken woman, like Lauren Boebert or something like that, where they can just really try to drag her through the mud. But Susie Wiles is different. It's a little harder to get there. And they went after her this week saying Trump's done with her. He's getting her out. Well, we've heard this kind of stuff before. We heard it over the summer. Remember the whole Pam Bondi, Pam Bondi versus Kash Patel versus Dan Bongino. Bongino's quitting. He's done. Never happened. I told you it wouldn't happen. And of course, they're all still there. Well, they're trying to convince us that Trump, his whole White House is falling apart. Remember in the first term, he had several chief of staffs. You know why he had several chiefs of staff? Because they were deep staters. And the Republicans kept feeding them to Trump, and he'd appoint them, and then they'd betray him. And so he'd cut them loose. And it happened again and again. Susie's been there the whole time. She's trusted. And they want you to believe that someone that close to Trump would fall apart, because if she gets cut loose, it's huge red flags. It means the Trump White House is falling apart, but it's not happening. It's not happening. It's not going to happen. She is there. She's in there for the long term. And she's also running a very tight ship. She's doing an excellent job. Kash Patel, that's the next one. Kash is on his way out. I have people sending me this stuff. Kash is gone. They're announcing it. Well, it's just, just not how it works out. In fact, Trump himself put this one.
And there would be nothing like it.
Are you planning to replace Kash Patel as
No, he's doing a good job.
This week,
Kash Patel? No, he's doing a great job, I think.
this week we saw those cases.
Why do you think they're trying to take Kash out? See, there were stories this week about Kash trying to, that he's abusing his stuff at the FBI, using it to help his girlfriend, and that he's having blow-ups at his FBI agents. He's basically abusing his power, having this little sweetheart deal with him and his girlfriend because of the FBI. They were planting all these stories, and then the story leaked that Trump was so furious about it that Kash was going to be on his way out. Well, first of all, it's not that simple. The FBI director gets a 10-year term, and the only way to get rid of a FBI director is for them to resign, just as Chris Wray did coming in to this administration before it started, paving the way for Kash Patel. Wray had 6-7 years left on his term. Let it go. He knew it was going to be a pain. Trump was going to make it miserable for him. You can't just fire him. It's a big deal. It's weird how they got it all set up. And, maybe the Supreme Court would side on that, but it's not even going to be a deal because Trump's not going to. Ask yourself why. Kash just came out today in an interview, said they found a bunch more information on Clinton's involvement in Russia. So that's being heavily investigated. The FBI has been cleaning up child trafficking all across the nation, cleaning up the drug cartels at the fastest rate in history. Kash's FBI is crushing it. And I told you guys the story that was reported a month ago is that the FBI is actually doing such a good job. They're overwhelming the understaffed DOJ, and the DOJ can't keep up. And that's where the frustration is. It's not that the FBI is not doing a good job. We all thought the FBI could never be saved. It's completely corrupt, and there are still some bad eggs in there. I'm sure they'll take a little time to get rid of. But the fact is the FBI, under Kash's leadership, has become a wonderful tool of the government cleaning up the corruption in the land. And now they have all the Epstein stuff coming out. Very interesting timing, wouldn't you say, that just a week after the Epstein files release has begun, now they're trying to take out Kash Patel? Who was it out there that wanted the Epstein files released before coming into the administration, before Trump won the election? Kash Patel was one of the big ones. Oh, he's salivating. He is excited to use the Epstein files. Now, everybody settle down, because the FBI, what it does is it will find the evidence. It'll make arrests if necessary, but it's the DOJ that has to go to the grand juries, get the indictments, and start the process of getting these people put away for good. So it's not going to happen fast, but I tell you, lots is happening, and that's why they want to take out Kash Patel, but he's not going anywhere. He's not going nowhere. The next part, Putin rejected this 28-point plan from Russia, Ukraine. That happened just yesterday because, you see, they went to Ukraine with this plan. Rubio went. I covered the plan last week, told you all the amazing stuff in there, which a lot of it has to do with an alliance forming between USA and Russia financially, which would be incredibly good. But this plan, very Russia-centric, but let's face it, folks. Ukraine's not going anywhere. They can't do anything. They're stuck. They're screwed. They're just bleeding. That's all they're doing right now, bleeding out. And Europe wants it that way. Europe wants to keep this going, but Europe's running out of money. Europe's getting in big trouble. So they take this plan. Russia signs off on it. They take it back to Ukraine. The Ukrainians are like, this is so awful for us. Can we just talk about it a little bit? So they make some adjustments. We don't know what those adjustments are, but the news already was posting everywhere that Russia has now rejected the deal because they don't want this to happen. But they jumped the gun a little bit, and red flags went off everywhere. Everybody knows that's not true. And Russia responded today saying, we look forward to going through it. And they are now meeting with more of the Trump team. I can't remember who's meeting with which. Witkoff's meeting on one side. The other guy's going to Ukraine, and Rubio's in the mix on both sides of it. But they are a real meeting again, and there's no no call for rejection. Why do they want this all to happen? Why are they pushing all these narratives so hard? Well, a few weeks ago, we lost a major election, Virginia, New Jersey, which we should have lost anyways. We were expected to lose anyways, but we lost by a lot more than expected. So everybody started freaking out. Oh, this is it. The response is in. Trump's dead. The shutdown was going on. The Epstein files were still up in the air. Everybody was just like, this is it. This is blood. MAGA's dead. We're killing it. They ran the Nick Fuentes psyop. Nick Fuentes is now the right. He represents it. The neocons started running their psyop. The Bush family, it came out. They are definitely trying to get back power of the Republican Party, as I told you guys. All this is going on. They thought they had blood in the water. And then what does Trump do? Release the Epstein files. Get the shutdown finished with nothing given to the Democrats. Say, I have a new health plan coming. Cuts them off there. And then Russia-Ukraine might be solved. It's all coming together for the Trump team. And 2026, I told you guys, this is the year. It was all the setup to set up the next 3 years. And so, yeah, it was going to be harder. It was going to be fiery. There was going to be things going a little slower than expected, a little disappointment here and there. But we're winning, and they're freaking out about it. And that's why they're lying so much. So I believe this peace deal will go through. I believe it's very close. And obviously, it's a tough one because both these sides, Russia has no reason to give up unless they get what they want because they are clearly winning. So Russia's not going to take a bad deal for them. They're not going to take anything that lets Ukraine join NATO. They're not going to take anything that gives Ukraine the ability to keep the Donbass. There's all kinds of stuff that Russia's just going to be a no-go on. So if Ukraine doesn't budge, this is what it tells you. If we do not get the deal, it tells you that Europe feels like they can keep this going a little bit longer because Europe wants this going. I've told you guys why. They want to keep it going. If they cave, it tells you that Ukraine's done and Europe is finally completely weakened because they have no resources to keep it going since we're pulled out. And by the way, Zelensky's got major corruption charges getting ready to come to light. All kinds of corruption charges against Zelensky and in the Ukrainian government. So they are weaker than ever, which is why I believe it's going to come through. But we'll find out. Clay Forever, welcome, says, back from Israel. We are so being lied to you. Hey, would you like to maybe put some more in the chat about what you're talking about? I'd be very interested in what you're saying. Why you say that. Okay, let's keep going. So another interesting thread got dropped today. Emerald Robinson, she dropped this huge election thread today and yesterday about the true story of the 2024 election. It's all about how Trump did not expect to win the election. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. She's still going on as well. She's making this her biggest story of the year. Patrick Burns sharing it. But it's all about how they, see, this is an attack on Susie Wiles. They arranged a meeting between Trump advisor Susie Wiles and the one man who could explain the election, which I believe would probably be Patrick Byrne. But it's this whole story about whistleblowers, about the election fraud, about Elon Musk, General Flynn, and, how basically Trump's got a bunch of terrible people around him that are not letting this all work out, and that they somehow still stop the fraud of 2024. It actually surprised Trump that night. And see, here it is. That's the thing about Trump. He always hired the wrong people. She's kind of gutting Trump. And it's about basically how the deep state is still kind of in charge. Look at this. This is the most important thread in the history of social media. I mean, come on. Are you about a little full of yourself here? So it's about how she's trying to say Trump and Tulsi are falling apart. And listen, here's the problem. These are all anonymous sources, and Brian Cates calls it out. And he says, I simply love how in this alternate reality Emerald lives inside of. It's the outsiders who know what's going on out there in the real world, not the people in the White House, not Trump and his team. Over and over again, and yet again, it's the outsiders riding to the rescue to save this evil or clueless, dumbass Trump White House from itself. And that's what makes this story so entertaining, at least for me. Let me tell you something. I used to love Emerald Robinson. She, big part of MAGA, the reporting, but we're finding out more and more how many of these people are just not who we thought they were. They are either controlled opposition, they're grifters just trying to make money for themselves with baseless stories. They throw out some things that are very true in order to build trust, and so they can then pull the rug out from under you with fake reporting when it matters most. And she releases this right now when there's all this questioning of Trump's administration. Well, I got to tell you, the first time I truly started doubting Emerald Robinson was last year before the election, when her reporting was that basically Trump wasn't listening to her and her people, and so they were going to lose the election. And she was sounding off all these red flags. It's going to go down, folks. You don't know what's about to happen. The rug's about to be pulled from MAGA. Trump's going to lose. This is so terrible. He wouldn't listen. His staff is terrible. Blah, blah, blah. Over and over and over again. And she did this for like a month. And I constantly called her out. You're full of crap. Because it was so obvious. If for those of us paying attention, those of us actually doing the real research, we knew for a fact Trump was going to win. You guys can go back to my videos. I called Trump was going to win last February based on his poll leads, telling you nobody's ever lost with that kind of lead. I have the video. I got the receipts. I did a video a couple nights before the election predicting exactly how it was going to go. And I think I missed. I was a little too optimistic on a senator, and I missed a couple in the House. But a couple of those House seats were stolen. That's just a fact. They're stolen in California. It took them a month to count those votes because they were stealing them. Arizona as well. But that's besides the point. We did the research. We saw it. We knew it was going to happen. Emerald Robinson's reporting was completely wrong. And then afterwards, all she had to say was, well, they surprised me. I guess something happened that shouldn't have happened. And so she got exposed. She got exposed. I don't trust her. Now, what's concerning about this for me is I do like Patrick Byrne. And Patrick Byrne's out there promoting this story. Now, I'll tell you something about Patrick Byrne. Even though I do like him, I've noticed in the last couple of years, the man is very self-promotional. He goes on shows like Roseanne and stuff, just basically talking about what a hero he is. And he brought all that election stuff to Trump in 2020. And then Trump never associated himself with Byrne again. Byrne came out with a story talking on a space call with Ham, the stock guy we all know, basically saying like, oh, he's told me I will be the new SEC commissioner. He wants me to be it. And then when it came time for Trump getting elected, Patrick Byrne said, well, my health is too bad, so now he's not going to appoint me, and I'm out of the country or something like that. He just had an excuse. A lot of Patrick Byrne's stuff just hasn't come to fruition. And I appreciate what Patrick Byrne did back in the day to beat the shorts with Overstock. I think he's a brilliant guy. But I'm starting to think that some of this Patrick Byrne stuff just isn't, it's not passing the sniff test. You can have a couple mistakes. You can have a couple instances where things don't completely pan out, and I will give you leeway. But when it continually happens, and now you're promoting someone who I know is a scam artist in Emerald Robinson, I just can't trust you anymore, and that sucks. That sucks. But this is how, guys, I'm telling you all the time, this is how you spot the psyops. These people have to bring receipts, and when they don't bring receipts, you got to just know they're pulling something over our heads. And that brings me to the one and only Candace Owens. Oh, Candace. Oh, Candace. Well, Candace has had quite the week. First of all, the Egyptian planes, it's now been found out that were in Utah. They never left Cairo. This was found out just by searching Google. Her anonymous sources are trolls exposing how unhinged she's become. I can't say that, but I can say this is a really, really poor look. And this has happened constantly now, where she says something and then she either walks it back with some excuse or she shifts the narrative. And in case you missed it, she also her claim of where these planes all of a sudden were tied to the FBI and the DEA. Well, it turns out they were actually, the address they went back to is the same address that her lawyers were in Delaware. That's interesting. Why would she get the address to her lawyer out and actually not recognize it? See, she's been getting these tips from people and she's just reading them aloud without vetting them. And she's claiming they're massive and she claims she vets them, but clearly not. See, the problem is that yes, the building she wrote about or she spoke about, they went to actually did have a DA office there for a bit, which is interesting as well. But here's the problem. She didn't also say that her lawyers were there. So why leave that out? You got to know that the people are going to find it. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on with this. And then she went to the next level and she's now claiming that Emmanuel Macron and his wife have put out a hit on her life, an assassination hit on her life, to the tune of $1.5 million. Now, I don't know about you guys, but can you think of a single massive entertainer, podcaster, whatever, other than Trump, who obviously is a political leader, or Charlie Kirk, who was not just a podcaster, but was leading the biggest movement in the country for MAGA, the most important organization for MAGA and Trump in the entire United States, in the entire world. He was the leader of that, and that's what he was first and foremost. But other than those two people, Candace is just a talking head. She's just doing a show, doing exposés on stuff. When was the last time somebody like that, a radio show host, a disc jockey, for lack of a better term, when was the last time somebody like that was assassinated or put on? It's one thing to get death threats. That happens all the time to anybody who's famous. I've gotten death threats. But what happens to these people? Do they ever go down? No, of course they don't. You really think Candace Owens is so important that the Prime Minister of France would risk? France is weak. France is not a powerful country. They don't even have one of the best intelligence agencies in the world. This isn't MI6. This isn't Mossad. This isn't even the CIA. You think the French were going to somehow pull this off? I don't, sorry, it doesn't pass the sniff test to me, but interesting that she comes out with this story as soon as her other story starts falling apart. And just like the quartering says, she had actual evidence. She won't be saying allegedly. It's spiraling. And she does. She says the public learns Macron allegedly moved $1.5 million for my assassination. How would the world respond? Not only that, she then goes out and now her show is off the air for the week. This just keeps getting more and more fascinating, doesn't it? I'm sorry, but Candace, I mean, what's happening here? You brought all these receipts. You were on to, and remember, your words as of last week, this story was going to change everything. And now, when it didn't change everything, you're claiming to be a hit put out on you by the Prime Minister of France, who apparently also, she's now tying it to Charlie Kirk. Let me read her post here. Our show will be off the air this week. As an update, both the White House and our counterterrorism agencies have confirmed receipt of what I reported publicly. They've confirmed receipt, Candace? Have they? Have they? For real? Okay. Emmanuel Macron attempted to organize my assassination per a source close to the couple. Per a source close to the couple. Love those anonymous sources. Also, I will again state that the French legionnaires were involved in Charlie Kirk's assassination. What? I thought this was all a TPUSA setup. I thought it was Israel. What is happening, Candace? Oh my God. Now, can I caveat this real quick? Please give me a second. If it turns out to be true, I will feel terrible and I will recant everything I'm saying right now. But I gotta say, I feel pretty good that that's not going to happen. And here, Candace is giving us the recipe of how to find out if she's telling the truth or not. For all of you who've doubted my claims, you can now look to the President of the United States. You can look to the President of the United States and our intelligence communities to issue a statement to confirm if I'm telling the truth. Okay, so let me get this straight. President Trump is going to say, you know, Candace, they went after Candace. It was huge. It's a huge story. It's a huge story. They went after Candace just like they went after me. Oh my God. They're trying to shoot her head off like they tried to shoot off mine. No, I'm sorry. I don't think we're going to hear a statement from President Trump about Candace Owens' assassination attempt by Emmanuel Macron. I don't know. Call me skeptical. I'm usually a very optimistic person. Call me mean-spirited. But if if Trump is going to be the one who's got to confirm this, listen, if he comes out and confirms it, all right, cool. I will be the first to say, Candace, I'm sorry. I was wrong. But as of right now, this story has the smell of nonsense all flipping over it. And so I just cannot wait to see how this happens, because if Trump comes out and says this is all true, then that'll be the biggest twist that I've never saw coming. I got to tell you. But as of right now, I think it's just as likely that that's happening as me sitting in a booth having a glass of wine with President Trump, like my thumbnail. That's how likely I think that is to happen to right now. So, but we'll have to wait. We'll have to wait and see. Okay, I'm going to go to another section. I have another section coming up. But before I go, guys, let me just say, please subscribe. I appreciate you guys watching. If you are new to the show, if you're new on X, hey, give me a follow. I'd love to have you be a part of the group. And if you want to support this channel, I got to say that YouTube has been going through a weird time. And it's the best way to support a channel now is through memberships. Political channels especially, views are dropping all over the place. And it's either... I don't know if it's a shadow ban going on again, like it used to be. I don't think I'm shadow banned anymore, but I can't tell for certain. But I can tell you that they are now laying so much AI crap on YouTube that it is killing views and all that. So if you want to support somebody like me doing a show like this, please hit the link in the description for a free month to the membership, and you will get Discord access and members only lives for that. And after your free month, if you want to stick around, it's only $5 a month. So I appreciate you guys and your help. And let me get into the chat before we go on to the next section. Let me see here. Patty Ann Swafford, what's going on? Says she thinks the investigation's true. Well, Patty, for your sake, I hope you're right. For your sake, I do. I got to tell you, I've been following it pretty closely. There's been a lot of things she has been very inconsistent on. And I've been doing this a long time. And I got to say that in my experience, when somebody's been going the route Candace has been doing all this, it's almost always a fake story. But I could be wrong. And Candace is brilliant. I don't really understand why she'd be lying, except she's she's had some things here and there. I used to love Candace very much. I don't like where she's headed. I do feel it's a problem, but I will be happy if I'm wrong, because I'd like to have, we need good people doing good reporting and exposing stuff. I just don't see it on this story. So if I'm wrong, I will be the first to admit it. Candace is like the National Enquirer right now. And that's kind of how I'm thinking too, CA Human. Let's see here. Trump does hate France. That is very true. He does. But Trump is a statesman, and Trump knows, listen, this is the art of the deal. Trump, there's a reason why when Trump's around these people, he's always super nice to them and he speaks highly of them. And we all know it's not that he loves them. It's pretty obvious. But because he will policy-wise destroy them. But Trump knows how to play the game. He knows who to cozy up with. He knows how to play for the cameras. And so Trump calling out Emmanuel Macron, I don't see happening. But Candace now has put it on the spot that this is the way she's going to be validated. So, her words, not mine. We'll have to see what happens. Hey, thank you, Patty. You're skeptic too. The world is nuts. It is nuts. I appreciate you finding me. I hope you subscribed, and I do hope you check in often. I would love to have you. I would. Thank you so much, Patty. It's great to have a new person. Cass Sink says, "Do I like Victor Davis Hanson?" Yes, I think Victor Davis Hanson is one of the good ones. I think he is brilliant. I think he is one of the most important voices for explaining MAGA, especially to traditional conservatives. Victor Davis Hanson gets it. And I do think I have not seen anything on Victor Davis Hanson that concerns me at all. In fact, he is one of my favorite people to listen to when he's on, say, like Megyn Kelly or something. He's very good. CA Human, Candace got a taste of what she was doing in the Kamala series. A light went off. Now look, bearing false witness won't be good in the end for it. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Again, we'll see. I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical on Candace. All right, let me see if there's anything else on another topic, maybe. Shogun, going back to the fake news part. X accounts being exposed for the location beyond the country for psyops. Oh, yeah. So I talked about this the other day a little bit. And if you didn't know, on X, you can now see where somebody's from. Let me show you. By the way, I think everybody should check this stuff. X is the most, and be on X, because X is the most important news source in the world. But you also have to know how to navigate it. So when you go to somebody's profile, if you click right here, it will tell you now where their account's based and where they're connected from. So you can find out where they got the app right here, and you can find out where they're currently in. Now, a VPN can throw this off. There are some people who are like, well, I'm on a VPN, that's why it threw me off. And these are people I know. So it does happen. It doesn't happen all the time, though, and for the most part, it's accurate. But so every time you're looking at a account, and let me give you a popular one in MAGA. This is Gunther Eagleman, political commentator, big MAGA. Well, I think this is true. I think he's one. Oh, he got it changed. He came out on as Abu Dhabi the other day. So he must have had a VPN, but there are several others who have been being exposed. I don't know them off the top of my head right now because I've weeded out most of them a long time ago. But the point is this. There are many, many people who, when one of these narratives is getting pushed, say like the Kash Patel's being fired narrative or the stuff Emerald Robinson's sharing right now, you'll notice it picks up a lot of steam from all over the place. And it's like this guy's saying it, this guy's saying it, and all of a sudden it seems like hundreds and hundreds of accounts are posting this stuff. Some of these people have hundreds of thousands of followers. Actually, this one really surprised me the other day, and I don't think this one is a VPN. Mario Nafal posts great news, lots of updates on stuff all the time. Seems to come across as MAGA, although sometimes he's been saying some weird stuff about Trump lately. And I looked him up the other day, and yeah, he's in Australia or West Asia. And so the point is this, like, I don't have a problem if he's from Australia, if he's open about it. I don't follow him close enough to know. But I will tell you that this shocked me because I don't want somebody from a different country being one of the main voices on my country and what we're doing. Does that make sense? I mean, do you guys agree with that? So Mario Nafal, I still follow him because I haven't seen anything of him that like is bad per se. But I will say this, I'm going to trust his opinion on stuff a little bit less now. Because if he's Australian and he's weighing in on American politics, this isn't his country he's fighting for. He's getting stuff from thousands of miles away. So in one way, shape, or form, he might be getting the news from X. That's fine. He's not experiencing the day-to-day life of Americans. He's not hearing what Americans are saying on the ground. So because of all that, he doesn't have the past of growing up American to understand our passion and wanting to get back our country, our desire for that stuff. He can't ever understand that. And so because of something like that, I got to say, Mario, I just, I still follow you. If you post an interesting news story, that's great. But this is not somebody I'll ever listen to anymore. I'm just not going to tune into their space calls, anything like that. It's ridiculous. And this is what X has given us. And I'm very grateful to Elon for that. I'm hoping he'll now roll out a feature that maybe lets us block certain countries, stuff like that. Like, I don't need anybody from Pakistan or India talking because those are the biggest bot farms. And there's other countries as well. But I just don't want any of that going on. Yeah, see, everybody is in agreement on this. So, it's important to know that, but okay. But saying all that, let's move on to the next segment I want to talk about. Trump did a big post the other day, and I want to cover it and then I want to give my thoughts because this is very important. Many of us, well, cheers real quick, folks. That's good stuff right there. All right. Many of us have been believing and hoping that Trump, one of the biggest things he's going to do is give us a new financial system. And I wrote on my title tonight that it would, it's Trump's New World Order. I did that for a reason. I did that because it messed with people who are like New World Order people, and I'm scared of all that. But in a way it is. It's a New World Order. It's a New World Order of autonomy and sovereignty and getting us back to being not all being globalist shills and funding the rest of the world, building up our own wealth and our middle class. So Trump wrote this yesterday. Despite the massive amount of money being made by the USA, hundreds of billions of dollars as a direct result of tariffs being charged to other countries, the full benefit of the tariffs has not yet been calculated, and that many of the buyers of goods and products, in order to avoid paying tariffs in the short term, stock up, purchasing far more inventory than they can use. That heavy inventory purchase is now, however, wearing thin, and soon tariffs will be paid on everything they apply to without avoidance, and the amounts payable to the USA will skyrocket over and above the already historic levels of dollars received. These payments will be record-setting and put our nation on a new and unprecedented course. There it is. Put our nation on a new and unprecedented course. Trump is telling us right there, the tariffs are what's breaking us free of our current financial system. They are going to set the stone because they set the foundation. They are going to bring in the protection against offshoring which will build up the middle class again. We will get away from being a financial country, which is always building up profits, which always trickle up to the people who own companies or own tech or whatever. The rich get richer, and instead become what we were so great at in the 1800s and the early 1900s, which is a country of productivity and labor, where the middle class is the biggest, best asset in world history to a country, which is what made America great. It's having a strong, thriving, vibrant middle class. That's what made us great. No other country in history had ever had that. We were the first. We were the only. And now Trump's bringing that back. And it's the tariffs that are going to set the stage for that. And what he's saying is we've barely begun to see the benefits. We are already the hottest country in the world, but this tariff power will bring America national security and wealth, the likes of which has never been seen before. Those opposing us serving hostile foreign interests. Do you see that? This is very important. Let me read that again. Those opposing us, Democrats, libertarians, neocons, old school Republicans, foreign adversaries. Those are all who's opposing Trump and MAGA. Are serving hostile foreign interests not aligned with the success, safety, and prosperity of the USA. We know that, but now Trump's saying it to make sure, well, A, to validate those of us who already know it, and B, to get the word out more. It's true. They are. It's a global cabal. It's City of London. You know, as I keep studying this, and I've been researching more and more, it's more and more apparent that the old British Empire, after losing America and realizing it couldn't destroy us, got us into a new position and working with the worst people in the world, the Rothschilds, all these major trillionaire types who like to run things from the shadows. They created this cabal working from within London and got all this policy out so that they could control us from afar, weaken America, and keep feeding off them and keeping tentacles in. Israel, all the people are Israel tards. They look at what's going on and they think Israel's involved, but no. I mean, Israel's involved. They don't lead any of this. Okay, where Israel has hurt us, that's because City of London, the old British Empire types, they built Israel. They created Israel, and they wanted to use it as an opportunity, a way to control the Middle East, and also to control us. They used our theology against us in this, and most Americans are Christians, and so on and so forth. But hostile foreign interests, it's embedded in all of it. And what it's done is, over the years, it's successfully killed our middle class, made us so much weaker, cost us great wealth, cost us security, and they've basically been trying to carve out us from the inside out. And Trump's ending that. But I think it's very interesting he called it out. Very interesting. They couldn't care less about us. I look so much forward to the United States Court's decision. I think he knows they're going to rule in favor. Lutnick came out the other day and was very positive about it. On this urgent, time-sensitive matter, so we can continue in an uninterrupted manner to make America great again. FICA says, what happens when the Supreme Court finds the tariffs unconstitutional? Well, Bessent and Trump have both already said they have a different plan for this. And interestingly enough, I don't know if you listened to the entire argument in front of the Supreme Court, but I did. I listened to the whole 2.5 hours. Alito said something very interesting. He said he was talking to the side arguing against the tariffs, so the Democrats or whoever their lawyer was. He said, you agree that the president could come out and say, no trade from this country. We will not be trading with this country at all. And that would be legal to do. And the guy said, yes. And so Alito said, excuse me, getting a little dry. So Alito said, well, how is that different than what he's doing with the tariffs? Because that's basically regulating trade. It's the same as telling a country you can't trade with us anymore. In the council, all they could say was, well, it's different because it raises revenue. And Alito said, okay, I still don't see the problem here. That was the main question that was so important. Here's the next part that was very important. Alito then said, okay, well, say we rule against it. Say we strike this down. Because he has this other massive trade power, is it not possible he could come up with another avenue of which to do this? Say maybe charging license fees? And the council was like, sure, he could try that, absolutely, and we would argue it's unconstitutional. And Alito said, well, okay, so that means we'll just be doing this again next year. And it really, really seemed like Alito was very much like, I don't think you guys are right at all. But here's the other important part of that. I think the Supreme Court will rule in favor 5-4. Maybe 6-3, but I think it'll be 5-4. But I also think that what Alito said is he basically gave the Trump team an out to say, if we strike down the tariffs, they have other ways of doing it anyways. And that's the important stuff, because Bessent and Trump have both said that if they strike it down, well, we have other plans. They've both said that. So it doesn't matter, is my point. It will be a bit, if the Supreme Court strikes it down, there'll be a big dance and jig, and the Democrats will be like, oh man, look at this. Trump is a dictator, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of democracy today. By the way, that will be their exact words. Ruled in favor of democracy today. Watch it. I hope we don't have to see it, because I want them to rule in favor of it, of tariffs. But if they rule against them, that's exactly what they'll say. Democracy won today. That's what they'll say. And on the other hand, we also have a bunch of Republicans and libertarians who want free trade, because libertarians secretly hate America and only care about making money and being able to do whatever they want. They hate any government whatsoever. They have no argument for. They'll be like, we don't hate government, and then you're like, okay, well, where's government officials? Like, well, if somebody attacks you, it's like, well, you don't even believe in a national army. How can you? How's that do anything? Anyways, don't get me started on libertarians. But the point is that there's another way. So after Trump posted this, I shared it, and I wrote this. If it comes up. Oh, it took it away. Let me see if I can get back to it. Get back to my post, because that's how I originally shared this. Oh, here it is. The Trump is building a new financial system, one like before 1913, where for 130 years, Americans' wealth kept growing and deflation was normal. Not the central bank free trade system we have today that kills the middle class. If you go back to the founding of our country, one of the great debates was, how do we raise revenue? Because we don't want to tax people. And so even though they hated it, because ultimately the founding fathers didn't like any form of taxation for a government, they hated it, but they figured the fairest way to do this was to impose duties, which is basically sales tax on certain products. So if you bought stuff, you paid a certain percentage to the government, which is we still do today. And then the other way was tariffs. And they figured, well, this way at least the other countries, we won't be just charging people here just for existing. Everything will be based upon commerce. So we will only tax transactions and trade, which is brilliant. And guess what? It worked. It worked so well, in fact, that the government constantly, even though it didn't grow as fast as it did today, it grew. It was always well funded. It was always fully capable of doing anything it needed to do. And underneath that system, without an income tax or a central bank, the American class, middle class, grew to be the biggest and wealthiest in world history. On top of that, America, in just 100 years, became the most powerful and wealthiest nation in the world. And because of innovation, because our currency wasn't manipulated, things innovate. You know what innovation does without currency manipulation and too many dollars always being recreated? Innovation creates cheaper goods. Because you invent something, you solve a problem. When you solve that problem, it makes things easier to produce, to distribute, to reproduce. When you do all that, you make stuff more available. And when stuff becomes available, supply and demand demands that price goes down because it also becomes cheaper to get that good out there. So over the course of the first 100 years of our country, the normal economy year to year was deflationary by an average of nearly a 0.5 percentage point a year. So that means everything in 1776, from the Declaration of the Independence until the founding of, in 1913, of the Federal Reserve and income tax. That means that stuff in 1776, if you wanted to buy clothing, guns, a property, it was actually more expensive. Maybe not property, because that's not a good. But clothing, guns, food, that stuff was more expensive in 1776 than it was in 1913. And that, my friends, is just a fact. I've researched this. I actually did an entire live on it. I walked you guys through it. It's crazy, but it worked. And then we got away from all that. And we started pumping money into the system. And all of a sudden, the federal government got massively larger and larger and larger, because now all of a sudden politicians could make promises, and then they could just print the money to fulfill those promises. Yeah. So all of a sudden it gets larger and larger. Once people have these crazy benefits, they won't unvote them. Look at what we're dealing with Obamacare now. It just got bigger and bigger. It's getting more and more expensive. And yet all the people are complaining about healthcare prices, and none of them want to get rid of it. All the people are complaining about our government's in debt, and yet Social Security, even people who don't need it, don't get me wrong, there are some people who need it. That's the only way they're going to have income for the last few years of their life. But there are a lot of people who collect that don't need it. But are they going to give it up? No way. No way. The entitlement class was built because the ability to print money. And that has gotten us into the trouble we're in today. And it goes further than that. You could go into the wars and all that as well. It's just became a big problem. And it's not that we were perfect. But we were in a much better place. But Trump, he can't get rid of the Fed because he needs Congress to do it. We're a ways away from that. It's gonna take time. But this at least builds a new foundation we can start moving forward from into a new financial system. And what this will do is, under our current system that we have, that's still income tax, that's still Federal Reserve, this will start empowering the people so much as wealth comes back to our nation, and depowering the whole fake, fraudulent financial system, the Wall Street system. It'll start losing its power so much that when it comes time to flip it, it'll happen, as long as the people don't give up. And that is, again, so important. We can't stop. We must get J.D. Vance in as the next president. We must keep voting in primaries and off-year elections to get better candidates in who will win elections for Senate, who will win elections for the House. We have to stay foot on the gas, involved. If we do that, we will eventually get a Congress in that's as strong as our president, Trump and Vance, that will then also do the work the president's doing. And you have to do it. Also, the dollar was backed by gold. That's right, Alan. That's right. I didn't say that, and the reason I didn't mention it is because the dollar wasn't taken off the gold standard until after after the income tax and after the Federal Reserve was created. So it's really those things being created that started all this. Gold, dollar being taken off, gold came later. So that's why I didn't. That's why I didn't say it. Am I drinking bourbon? Actually, I'm drinking a dark rum. I'm drinking Myers rum. It's delicious. But the gold standard was not the only reason. This is what started taking it off the gold standard. We were printing money before we were off the gold standard too. Just so you know. I mean, it happened a lot under Roosevelt, and so just saying. I know the gold standard is a big deal, or just having us on any standard that ties the dollar to real value. That's important, 100%. It's not the end all be all some people think it is. It is very important, but it's not the most important thing. But having a gold done too is, let's see. 2 times before 1913. Well, there's always been bailouts and stuff. Absolutely. But 1913 solidified the Fed. Okay. And it also gave the U.S. government. Well, it did give Congress. It gave our government the ability to take money directly from our earnings. Do not underestimate what a big deal that was. Before that, for the first 130 years of our nation, our government was not allowed to just come in and take money straight away from us. We had to spend that money in order to be taxed. That's a big deal. And so once they were able to raise taxes whenever they wanted to on people's income, once they were able to lock in permanent taxes on our income, like Social Security and Medicare, we became much more of an indentured servitude kind of nation. Patty says, I thought I was libertarian for a while, but nope, MAGA here, and they are showboats. Oh, you're completely right about that. So yes, it wasn't, the gold standard matters, but it's not the central bank getting back to a national banking system and getting off the income tax. Those are actually more important. And then the dollar getting tied to something will also be extremely important. So all of that matters. You're talking about federal government debt as far as being tied to gold. Yeah. Gold standard limits the expansion. Yeah, you're right. You're actually right about that, Alan. I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you there. You're right. They had to do war bonds. Yeah, you're right. Okay. But even that, they didn't start implementing all that until after income tax and after the Fed. They would do bonds every once in a while, but nothing like what they did. Because Roosevelt, it wasn't just war bonds. It was also the Great Society he was starting, that eventually Lyndon Johnson stole from, but the whole the New Deal, all that was very expensive. And we just didn't run deficits and stuff like that before. If we did, it was debt to another country, which we would pay off, stuff like that. So it changed everything. But yes, we got to get back on gold or something like it. I agree with you. I agree. Even if we tied it to property, I don't know. There's got to be something we can tie it to that's always valuable. Okay, let's keep looking here. Today, just showing you guys how things are changing, okay, and in a good way. And today something really big happened. Trump had a call with China. Now, this just looks like a regular Trump post about a call with Xi or Putin. Okay. And no way, you don't think much about it. All right. You don't think twice about it. You're like, well, that's good. He's talking to the leaders. He's actually, but this guy has a great point here. And this shows you how much things are changing. He said, it looks like Trump didn't understand the consequential importance of his call. If he did, he's hiding it. And this is interesting. This was the first call ever requested by Xi to a president. It's never happened before. It's always been at the Americans' request. Now, if that's true, that's huge. That is huge because it means the entire relationship has changed. Now, I was having a talk with somebody, a friend of mine the other day, who's very concerned that we are trying to get into war with China with all this Venezuela stuff, which I totally disagree with. But he says he's got somebody with, whose previous military intel told him that China's ramping up for this. And it's fine. I'm not saying that person's necessarily wrong, but they also, I don't know this person. I don't know if it's somebody who's dooming all the time, black-pilled. I've been hearing we'll go to China for 30 years. Not happened. And there's no reason for it to happen. It wouldn't be beneficial. China cannot take us over. They can't. Even if they had a bigger army, which they don't, I think they might have a few more people, but they don't when it comes to technology, ability. They do not have the ability to take us over with their military. And then you factor in the fact that they would have to travel the Pacific Ocean to get to us. Good luck. That's pretty much impossible to get here with all of our weapons that could stop you on the way over here. Yeah, good luck. So China's not going to invade the U.S. They can't take us over. So what else do they gain from war from us? Nothing. They don't. China wants to be left alone and grow. They want to be able to put their hands into all these poor countries' pots, get in the Middle East, get some oil, go to Africa, get some, raw materials, some precious metals, go to South America. They want to be able to do whatever they want, but they also want to be left alone. And obviously they can't do whatever they want, and that's why we keep running into issues with them. But they're not going to mess with the U.S. They're just not. They'll mess with us financially. They'll get into trade war with us. They'll economically go back and forth. But China's economy is on the verge of collapsing. They can't win through this, is my point. So I look at all that and I say, and also I know Trump. Trump doesn't want to get into war at all. Trump's desperate not to get into war. He hates war. He will only do it if he sees no other option. He's not afraid, but he sees no need for it because he doesn't like people dying. He doesn't like us wasting our money. He doesn't want any of that to happen. So he will avoid it at all costs. So that's why I don't think any chance we go to war with China. I thought it was very interesting that I had this conversation the very next day. Xi calls Trump for the first time ever reaching out. So last time in recent decades, a Chinese leader initiated contact was in September 11th when that president reached out. Obviously, September 11th makes sense. Says the main topics of the call were Taiwan and Japan. Chinese official expressions are codified, but it says writing both countries should jointly maintain World War II victory fruits in the fight against fascism and militarism. And this was used in the official context. Let me get down to the good stuff real quick. Sorry. This framing puts China and America on the same side when it comes to Taiwan as co-victors of WW2 with Japan as the defeated aggressors. Seizure of Taiwan was reversed, and that reversal needs to be upheld. This is a very significant shift in China-U.S. diplomatic language. China's proposing to reposition the foundational narrative of U.S.-China relations from post-Nixon to post-World War II, which would change the very nature of the relationship from pragmatic accommodation between adversaries to historical allies with shared responsibility. There's the line I was looking to get to, guys. Here's the deal. Trump is changing the game. And this is what Trump does that no one else does. We've had tough presidents. We've had weak presidents. We've had presidents that were corrupt. But we haven't had a president who is extremely tough, didn't take crap, but then reached out with an olive branch every time. Trump is on these calls with Putin, with Xi. He's trying to build relationship with these men. Trump respects them. Whereas other presidents either demonized or capitulated. Trump does neither. He goes in, is tough, says, you guys will not screw us. Here's how it's going to be. They respond back. Trump might give a concession, say, okay, we can do that. They go back and forth. Trump is the art of the deal maker. But then what Trump will do is he'll say, I want to make this work because you don't want to get in a war with us. And we don't want to get in a war with you. So let's stop being stupid and let's work this out. And they respect him for it. So what Trump's doing is he's bridging gaps. This is why in the Middle East, all of a sudden, all these countries that used to say America's the great Satan, they love us now. This is why they're rolling out the red carpet for Trump. This is why they're treating him like a king whenever he shows up. They love him because Trump is like, I don't want fighting. I don't want death. How about we prosper and you prosper? How about that? And they love him for it. He's like, I don't like what you guys are doing, but you know what? Your business, I'm going to fix my home. How about we prosper together? That's what he's doing. And it's working. It's working so much that now Xi is calling Trump. And what this tells me, and listen, maybe I could be wrong. Maybe China's going to backstab him and go attack Taiwan tomorrow. I don't think it's going to happen. If China is ever going to go after Taiwan again, they are going to do it when it's a weak president, which it's not going to be Trump. And I don't think it'll be Vance. I mean, Vance is going to be president. They won't do it under Vance. Okay. So in my opinion, we're looking at least 12 years before they have a window for it. And that's not going to happen. So put it, it's done. I don't see it. And this is a big deal. So I'm not going to go through the rest of this. This is very big, but he just says, like, here's a couple things about the wrong read about militarily in Taiwan. And he just goes on. It's a great post. I shared it if you want to read the whole thing. Alan says Taiwan purchased Patriot missiles. Okay. But still, I mean, yeah, they're defending themselves, but it's not going to come to war. If we go to war with China, does that mean Panda Express will be closed? Asking for a friend. I hate to tell you this, bud, but I don't think that's owned by China. I'm just saying. Thanks, Brett. Always make me laugh. Hey, what's up, Kit? How you doing, man? Thumbed it now. How can I like it more? Love it. Kit, it's been a while, man. Good to see you. I'm going to be talking markets at the end here for a minute too. So you showed up the right time. Please like and subscribe. Thank you, Brett, for reminding everybody. Anyways, listen, guys, nothing's 100% ever, but I'm going to go out on a limb here and say there's no way in hell we're going to war with China. Okay. I'm going to go out on a limb there. I'm going to give you guys a 99.9% chance that we will not go to war with China. That's how strongly I feel about it, especially in a Trump administration. If China wanted to go to war, they would have done it under Biden. If they were going to take Taiwan, they would have done it under Biden. I think they like to threaten it. I think it's a negotiating tactic, but it's not going to happen. Biden allowed Israel and Gaza to go on for a year and a half with nothing changed. He allowed Ukraine and Russia to go on without any trying to change it, just feeding that war. Under Biden, the wars kept increasing. Under Obama, the wars kept increasing. Under Bush, the wars kept increasing. Under Clinton, the war started ramping up towards the end of his term. You see a pattern here. Under Bush 1, the wars ramped up. Okay. The only two that they wore down on was Reagan, who he still got in some skirmishes that might not have been the wisest, but they still wound down because the Soviet Union collapsed, and then Trump. And Trump, by far, wound them down more than Reagan. And there you go. I mean, that's all you need to know. China, all these countries, they see, we either antagonize them into war during all these other administrations, or B, they see opportunity to get into something. I mean, Putin even took, went into Georgia under Bush, and Bush was supposed to be the tough guy. That's not going to happen with Trump. Trump is actually keeping these guys in order. Walmart needs China. Oh, yeah, they do. Even with the tariffs, they still need China. And here's the thing nobody talks about. we have become drunk off China's goods. Yes, everybody agrees with that. No, like just like the Walmart comment. But what nobody ever talks about is how dependent China is upon us. Without US dollars flowing into China, this is why when Trump just had this trade war, quote unquote, for a few days with China in October, why they came to a meeting so quickly. And do you know now Trump's got plans to go to Beijing in April? When was the last time that happened, when a president did that? This relationship is growing better, not worse. And it's because Trump's shown strength. He's put boundaries on them. But it's also because he's like, I'm not trying to screw you guys. But I'm going to make sure you don't screw us as much. And they respect that. And they're dependent on us. Without US dollars, China's economy is already on the verge of collapsing. Without US dollars, it collapses quickly. So it goes both ways. And here's the deal. Our economy without China, if it all got shut off tomorrow, no trade with China at all, we would go through a recession. And it would last maybe 2 quarters, 3 quarters. And it would be pretty rough, especially at first. But then what we do, because what Trump's already put in place and the steps he's taking, we would start pulling it in from other countries. We would start making up some of that. And then he's already made trade deals, remember? He made all these trade deals. He went to Vietnam, Korea. He did all the countries surrounding China, Japan. He went to all the Asian countries. So he made us less dependent on China already. And then with the manufacturing coming back. So yeah, we might not have as cheap of goods, but we would be able to weather and come back. China, though, they're screwed because all they do, their entire economy is based on selling cheap crap to other countries, and mostly America. That's their entire economy. They lose that, it's over. Kid also says China isn't battle tested. Vance will get rid of the property purchased by China outside our military bases first. Yeah, I think some states are already doing that. But yeah, I think Vance will definitely do that. Trump might even do that by the end of his term. It should be getting done. Okay, and so this is the new world order, right? Financial system, relations with China are growing better. And then we get stuff like this. Trump posts this today. We voted for the Trump agenda, not the GOP agenda. It says if the entire Republican Party does not stand united behind President Trump right now, then there is absolutely no reason to have a Republican Party. So what's Trump putting out there? It's that the only reason to have a Republican Party anymore is MAGA. That's it. And this is Trump putting it out there. This is the same week, remember, after Cheney's funeral, we got the news. Sorry, it's starting to rain really hard over here. After Cheney's funeral, we got the news that the Bushies, the Bush wing of the party, was starting to talk about how they want to take power back. Trump just put this out there to say, ain't happening. You guys are non-existent anymore. You guys are worthless. Vance said it last week. I played the clip for you. He said that the old Republican Party is gone. It doesn't offer anybody anything. It was stupid and it got us in this mess. This is great stuff. Great stuff from Trump. It is a new world. It is a new world. Okay, a couple last things to clean up at the end here before I go tonight. But just interesting news. Department of War is going after Mark Kelly. They've called him back to duty, and they're going to try him under military. It says Department of War received serious allegation of misconduct against Mark Kelly in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So Department of War reminds individuals, it says it may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative procedures. So Department of War reminds all individuals, military retirees may be subject to the UCMJ for applicable offenses and federal laws, prohibit actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, of good order, discipline of the armed forces. Dude, what an idiot. What an idiot Mark Kelly is. If he's such this war hero that he claims to be and knows the military inside and out, and he worked for whatever. If he's all those things, how could he not know this when he put out that video? What a moron. And I really hope Hegseth sees this through and makes an example out of him for that sedition video last week. Let's see here. Alan says China is trading U.S. bonds for money, then gold, silver, rare earth materials. Okay. I mean, yeah, they hold some. Japan holds more debt than China. But, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. There'd be serious economic repercussions if China wants to hurt us. But we'd recover is my point. Okay, continuing on. Let's see here. This was interesting. So Caitlin Collins, old CNN, talking to Mike Lawler. This is about Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all those who are upset Marjorie Taylor Greene fell out. I've been trying to tell you, she's not who we think she is. Caitlin asked her, she's been loyal. And Lawler says, you can be loyal or not, she's ineffective. Isn't that what Trump always said? She's not getting anything done. She doesn't have enough people on her side to win another election. She couldn't win the governorship when she was talking about it. He won't support her for the Senate because she's ineffective. And anyways, he talks about himself, how effective he is. But that's the point. Marjorie Taylor Greene, for all the great stuff she did in the beginning or stuff she said, she ultimately wasn't helping advance the agenda at all and really was just enriching herself. So good riddance to her. Let me see if I want to share any of these others tonight. Yeah, let me just go to the market stuff and then I'm going to call it a night. We'll skip over a couple smaller stories. So Bissett came out today, and I'm gonna play this clip because I think it's interesting. Come on. Sorry, it doesn't want to work. Let me try this again.
Why do you think that? And I said, look, if you look back over the history of my career, I've made money betting against elite consensus.
Right.
Whether it was, we've never had a national housing crisis.
Sure.
Nothing's wrong underneath.
Home prices
the hood.
can't go down.
Home prices can't go down. And where were the regulators? Where was the Federal Reserve? And same thing, 2012, 2013. Japan can never come out of deflation. And I just met this guy named Abe. And with a lot of this, it's very personnel is policy, policy is personnel. And when I saw what President Trump was doing, one of my biggest single trading gain days was the 2016 victory. And I don't know if everyone remembers, but the market crashed the night President Trump won. Crashed.
Yes, yeah, of course.
It was the end of the world, it was
yeah.
this, it was that. And I'm sitting there, I'm watching John King from CNN in tears, because I still remember, he does the thing where he moves the map around, and he's moving it around, and he goes, Hillary Clinton has no path to the presidency, and the market just went straight down. So that I bet against the elite consensus of this panic, and because so many people in the investment community were the Hillary supporters. They were all gathered in the New York Convention Center for the glass ceiling because she was going to break the glass ceiling.
Center. Unbelievable.
I think she could do it with her voice.
Well. Lots of people who are constantly saying, Trump is Wall Street. He's in on it with them. He's one of the Wall Street guys. I used to have a bunch of people tell me he was friends with Kenny G. It's like, are you kidding me? And I've easily busted that myth many times. But that's Bissett saying the best day he ever had trading was betting on President Trump in 2016 because he knew all the Wall Street types were Clinton people. And once Trump won, the market tanked. That was so awesome. I thought that was just a great story. And again, just proves how Trump is not one of them. He's not one of them. He's not one of them on Washington, D.C. He's not one of them on Wall Street. He's even though he's a billionaire many times over, super successful businessman, hung out with a lot of the elites. In many ways, he's closer to me or you than them. And that's a crazy thing to say. I know it's a crazy thing to say, even as I say it. But honestly, it's true. Loves McDonald's, just wants to hang out, golf with his buddies, have a good time. He just happened to be a very successful version of a common man. And that's it. Successful version, but he stayed truer and closer to that. Like, other than the fact he could party with the rich, he just stayed closer to those values, to that common man in America than all these elites. And it's wild. And honestly, it's kind of a miracle. I don't understand how it happened because it just doesn't make sense. But it's true. They all hate him. And he hates them. I mean, I remember in reading Art of the Deal, he's very negative about Wall Street. He's not a fan. He's not a fan of Wall Street and how the stock market works. And which is why I think we're going to get our justice there. And in fact, story tonight from Frank Nez, who does a lot of market reports, Eric Trump hints after going after massive financial institutions. So listen, guys, I think we're coming to a point. Now the market's way up the last few days. And I got to say, it's baffling me because there's been no big news. NVIDIA earnings came in, the market tanked. But there was a move last Friday by one of the Fed chairmen who said, yeah, I could see us still cutting rates. And as soon as he said that, the market started turning. See, they had thought there wasn't going to be a rate cut in December. And now that they have a little hope there will be, the market's pumping again. That's the only news pumping the market. That's how weak and fragile the market is right now. So what happens if they don't cut? I don't know. But it sure looks as if it was headed in the down direction. And I got to tell you, from what I'm seeing and from what Bam is seeing on his model, it still looks really bad. Will it turn? I don't know. And if it does, I don't know when. But we still need it to happen at some point. And I believe with all my heart, I really do believe that's what they're waiting for to clean up the markets. Because if Trump, again, if he goes in now and says, I'm cleaning up the markets, I'm wiping out all the naked short selling and going after the manipulators, and he starts going after these financial institutions, the markets crash that day. And then everybody blames Trump for it. But if he waits for it to crash on its own weight, where it is right now, and we can expose the AI bubble, we can expose the manipulation on its own. If he can do that, then come in and say, how dare you guys, I'm going to clean this up, you ruined the markets. That's the perfect time how he can clean it up without it killing his political capital. But again, we're starting to get hints that they're thinking in this direction. Let's see here. Alan says, did the Democrat forget they started the government shutdown of not paying the military? Right. Patty, I've heard he loved the working man when he would do a project, loved chatting with them. He knows the middle class working man's heart. 100%. I completely agree with that. Someone said the market's fueled by hope. Oh, yeah, that and a lot of corruption. Kit, what's up? He says, you can't have QE and decide not to cut. My opinion only, we're going to have innovation out the yazoo, and just like Billy who inherited the boom via tax receipts, Trump is locking in foreign investment. Well, you're right about the foreign investments, absolutely. And Kit, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't we doing QT, quantitative tightening, and then Powell announced the end of that starting December 1st? Pretty sure that's how it went. But, we're going to get a lot of investment, but I think most of that's going to go to Main Street, along with all the manufacturing boom. And my personal thought is that there is going to be a market correction, a pretty sizable one that's going to freak everybody out. It'll be an opportunity for Trump to clean up some market stuff, and it'll rebound pretty quickly. But Main Street will be the big winners because we also need the housing market to have a downturn, get that to restabilize and get those prices down. There's a lot that needs to happen because it's all being propped up artificially. But what Trump's doing is preparing the Main Street, the middle class areas with the manufacturing, with the tariffs, with the tax cuts, with the deregulations. He's preparing it to withstand, to be, because right now the markets are completely detached from Main Street. So the markets are soaring while Main Street is slowly suffering. And they've never been so far apart before. What Trump's going to do is, I believe, is this is going to come back down, the markets, as this goes up, and then they'll start actually moving together again, as they should. It'll never be perfect, but I think it's going to get closer there. But that's my opinion, Kit. Maybe you don't see it the same way. Alan says there's an analysis showing a bounce up could correct back down. Yeah, absolutely. Brett says, don't forget about unicorn farts and fairy dust help the markets. These days they do, that's for sure. Yeah, Lockfeld says QT's ending December 1st, and then the print. Yeah, we'll see. Also, I disagree with you on the stimmy checks. I do. I don't think they're going to be able to print. I don't think Trump's going to allow it. The stimmy checks are from tariff revenue, so they're non-inflationary because they're not from printed money. There's no new money going into the system from if he gives up stimmy checks from the tariffs. That's revenue that was brought in, not printed. So and that's why I'm actually in favor of them, because it'll be a boon to the middle class temporarily. It'll help with approval rating going into the midterms. It'll give the economy a quick little injection of good cash, not printed cash. And make everybody love tariffs. And then from then on, he can just keep the tariff revenue for Treasury going forward. And I think it's brilliant. I really do. So, January cool off again. We'll see. Yeah, we'll see. Okay. Well, Kit, I appreciate your analysis. I look forward to seeing how it goes. I will tell you that BAM's model greatly disagrees with you, or your fund managers anyways, but we'll see. Wait until Chicago residents reject their property tax in Chicago. God, I hope we all start rejecting property tax. Let's get rid of that. It's evil. It's evil. No one should be taxed on their property. And the reason is because if you are taxed on your property year to year, you never fully own it. If the government has the right to seize your property that you bought, if you own it, and then you don't make a payment to them based on something you already own, that is insane. They should never be able to have power over that. That means it's not private property. And so I think property tax is one of the most evil things in our system, because it makes it impossible to fully own private property. But that is what it is. It's very anti-American. Very anti-American. Anyways. All right, guys, on that note, please like, share, subscribe. I appreciate your time. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for, I hope you learned something. I hope I at least stirred your brain about something. And I will be back again tomorrow to do it again. And then I will obviously take Thanksgiving off, but Thursday night. So do not expect to see me on Thanksgiving. But we will hang out over the weekend. I'm going to have some much needed time off. But you know what, guys? I like doing these shows. I got to admit it. I like being with you guys. So look for me then, but definitely see me tomorrow. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Please hit that like, subscribe, join the channel if you want to support. It's just $5 a month and you get your first month free to try it. You can always bounce out if you don't like it. The description has the link for that free month. And I might run a Black Friday sale. We'll see. But anyways, let's end in a prayer, because obviously we need it. And with Thanksgiving here, we need to remember how thankful we are. So Heavenly Father, thank you so much for today. God, bless these wonderful people watching this show. God, just be with every one of them. I pray you bless them, Lord, with whatever their needs are. You would meet them there in that, and just reveal yourself to them, and just let your peace be with everybody here. Your peace, God, in Jesus' name. And Father, we just bless our president and his team. Father, we bless him with wisdom and discernment. Bless him with boldness, God, to never cease. And bless him with protection in Jesus' name, that entire team. I pray that all of us would have the wisdom to see through the psyops they keep throwing at us as it intensifies. And I pray, God, above everything else, that you bring justice and prosperity back to our nation in Jesus' name, so that we can see the best times we've ever seen in this nation. It's very possible. I believe it with all my heart. That's your will for us. And so we just pray it into existence in Jesus' name. Bless everybody here. Amen. All right. Love you guys. Have a great night. Let's see if I didn't miss anything here. Thank you, Patty. I'm so glad you found the channel. Please, if you're not subscribed, be sure to subscribe. Thank you so much. But yeah, and thanks for joining the chat too. I always love having people in the chat. All right, guys. Bless you. Have a great night. And I'll